Hello WinCraps fans. Recently I was asked if I would write a script for another strategy called Leapfrog. This one is very similar to the one we just did recently called Squeeze Play. You can find both of these on the internet at youtube.com/casinoquest. At least that's where I saw them. Not sure that they're the originators, but I think they are. At any rate, both these strategies are very similar. So rather than go through line by line and show you how I would write it out, I'm going to take the script from Squeeze Play and just mold it into one here for the Leapfrog. And I've already written that out. I'm going to take you through and show you, walk you through the script. Casino Quest is having theirs start at $360 bankroll, but since the Squeeze Play we were doing $500, I'd like to keep the bankroll at $500 here, just so we can kind of compare the two. We're going to keep auto handle winning bets to same bet, and whenever the game drops below $36 or you go up a $200 win, we're going to reset and start a new session. In this case we're using $36 because this Leapfrog starts with $18 each on Place 6 and Place 8. That's kind of the base bets, so we'll just use 36 as the base amount. We need to have at least that amount. So if the Place 6 is equal to 0, we assume Place 8 is 0 as well. In that case, we're going to make our basic bets, and we're going to set our win counter, check stack 1, to 0. Now, later we're going to be adding on some Place 5, Place 9, and by 4 by 10 bets. So we've got a statement here that says if any of those win, we're going to increment our check stack counter, count the wins, and then based on the value of that, we're going to take some actions. After the first win, we're going to add on a $15 Place 5 and Place 9. After the second win, we're going to bet $10 on buy 4 and buy 10. After the third win, we're going to take down the buy 4 or buy 10 Place 5, Place 9, and we're going to bet $24 on Place 6, Place 8. After the fourth win, now we're going to add back in $15 Place 6 and Place 9 and reduce the Place 6 and 8 to 18. So basically we're going to end up with $66 inside. And actually let me mention here, the video I watched, Casino Quest, was using a $66 press, but they mentioned they had another alternate that they used. Sometimes they would go to 64 across. So there's a few different variations, and you can play around, but this is what I've chosen here. After the fifth win, we're going to now add in a $10 buy 4 and buy 10 bet. So now we've got all the bets across. And after the sixth win and greater, we're going to start power pressing. Now, power press involves not just a press, which is a double, but it involves pressing the full amount that you won and adding it to the amount that was bet. So the way we do that in WinCraps, we take the last dollar amount of the buy or place bet that won. Okay, so this is all one variable right here, and that you can find on the bet results screen. The last amount of the buy bet that won, and we're going to add that to the buy bet. Now, how do we know it was the buy bet here? Because we said, first of all, we said there's a win, and then we said, was the dice total equal 4 or 10? If it was a 4 or 10, that means it was a buy bet. Then we say, if it was less than $86, we're going to power press it. Now, why did I say 86? I just want to set a limit to 2 power presses. I mean, if you just kept power pressing all day, you'd eventually lose, right? Because you're never pulling any money off the table. So why don't we just set 2 power presses as a limit for a number? And we do the same thing down here for the place bet. So if a place bet is less than 96, we're going to power press it. So we're going to take the last amount that was won and add that to the place bet that is already existing. And how do we know this was still what was there? Because up here we told it to handle winnings the same bet. So when a bet wins, the same bet is made, and then we're adding the amount that was won to that same bet. Hope that makes sense. Okay, let's activate all that and let's go check it out. Okay, I see here on our table we have $18 Place 6 and Place 8. That looks good. Now, Casino Quest is not working their place bets on the come out roll, so let's just set a point of 4 and get the puck out of the way there. And now, just for the sake of checking out to make sure the script is working properly, we're going to roll the numbers that we need. So let's say we roll a 6. I would expect Place 5 and Place 9 to come on board. And there they are, $15 each. Now if we roll one of these numbers, I would expect to see a $10 Place 4 and or buy 4 and 10. And there they are, buy 4 and buy 10. And now if we hit any number, I would expect all this would come down and a $24 Place 6 and Place 8 would return. And there they are, 24 each. Now I would expect if we win one of these, those should come down and we should go back to $66 inside. And there we go, 15, 18, 18, 15. Now if we hit something, I expect to buy 4 and buy 10 to come back. There they are, $10 each. And now we've gotten to our power press situation. So let's say we hit a 10. The 10 is sitting at $10. If it wins, it should pay 20 minus $1 for the VIG. That's 19. 19 plus the 10 that's sitting there already means that our next bet should be 29. Let's check it out. We roll a 10. And here we are, $29 bet. Okay. And then the next press, let's say we hit 10 again, is going to bring us up to 86. And that's our second press. And that's why we used the 86 as a value in the script there. So now it won't press anymore. But in fact, we're just about bumping up on the $200 win here. So if I were to hit another win, then it should reset the whole session. And there it goes, it reset. Okay, so it looks like the script is working properly. We can go to the bankroll screen and we can start rolling it out, seeing what kind of sessions we get. It looks like they're hitting about, let's see, about 90, 120 rolls. I think that one was 170. That one hit about 280. So it looks like we're going anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours worth of play. And we could speed that up, close the window, let it run really fast. And then when we're ready, we can stop that. We can go to the sessions log and we can see what we got. Now actually, to save you a little time, I went ahead and rolled some sessions ahead of us, ahead of the video here. So right now we're up to 10,215 sessions. Out of that, there was 6,300 winning sessions. It's almost 62% winning. That sounds pretty good. And you can see the two results here. This is the dollar amount won and lost, the net. You can see here's the winning grouping, $36 and less, the remaining bankroll. And here's the winning grouping. This is wins that are 200 or greater. And the average of all those comes out to minus $34.35. If we look at the data, we can see that overall it had an advantage of minus 2.13%. Now, if you'll recall, the squeeze play we ran had about a minus 2.7%. So why would this be better? This is less negative, so it's better for the player. Well, think about the bets we got here. The Leapfrog is using Place 6 and Place 8 to start. Then it's expanding out, and then it's jumping back to the Place 6 and Place 8. So it's spending a lot of time with just Place 6 and Place 8, whereas the squeeze play started with all the inside bets. So it didn't have just Place 6 and 8 by itself. Now Place 6 and Place 8 are minus 1.52% bets, whereas the Place 5 and 9 are minus 4% bets. So if Leapfrog is spending more time without the 5 and 9, it means it's going to lower the amount lost, and indeed it has. So that kind of accounts for that. So I would say between the two systems, the Leapfrog is probably a little bit better. Now here's another little interesting thing to look at. How about if we look at check stack number 1? Remember, whenever a session is reset, the value of all the first 20 check stacks is recorded along with the other information. So you can use that to pick out various data. In this case, we used check stack number 1 to count our wins. So if we were to look at that here and look at a histogram, we can see kind of a scattering here. So this shows how many wins each game finished with, our little win counter. Now if I'll hold down the shift key and I'll move the mouse pointer over the graph, I'll get this little black bar. and that's actually the clear area. So whatever that bar is over, it's reading what's underneath it. And then we can read that in the lower corner. So if I'll move that all the way to the end and superimpose it on the very first bar, we can see that that bar's value is from 0 to 0.1298. That's just the width of the bar. We know, in fact, that our check stacks are going from 0 to 1 to 2. So the first bar is really representing the value of 0. And that is a total of 2,043 sessions, or 20%. In other words, 20% of our sessions finished with our win counter at 0. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that our games didn't have any wins, or that those games didn't have wins. It just means that it cycles through on different hands, and at the time that the session was reset, it just happened to have been on 0. But it does raise an interesting question. How many wins are we getting per hand? Well, how can we check that? Well, why don't we go back to the script, and let's pull up where we're resetting for a new session. Instead of resetting when we lose a bankroll or win 200, how about if we just reset whenever we have a 7 out? So now we are in fact saying that each session we start is going to represent one hand. Every time a shooter 7's out, that's the end of his hand. So one hand is going to be the same as one session in our log. So let's try and run that, but again, rather than waste your time, I've already done it. So let me pull up that data here. So here we go. It's another 10,000 sessions. And in this case, we have 3757 that won. That's 37%, almost 38. And if we look at the amount bets won and lost, we can see that the average session lost $4.43. And we could move our little bar over and see that the biggest bar here, the highest bar, has got a value of minus 52 to minus 15. That's 62% of our results. So that's almost the total amount lost here. If we now look at, actually, let's go over here to the data real quick. We can see if we look at it per hand instead of per session, we're losing minus 3.27 per hand. If we go and look at the check stacks now, look at the histogram, now we can see some interesting information. We can see that each hand we hit, our win counter, it resets during a hand, so this is really good information now. We're having an average of 2.56 hits per hand. So think about that. We start out with a place 6 and place 8. If we have 0 hits, if we do not hit one of our bets and we lose, then we lose $36. If we do hit one of our bets, and then we add on the place 5 and place 9, and then we lose, then we're out a total of $45. If we hit a second time, and we add on the buy 4 buy 10, but we get $1 back, now if we lose, we're going to be out $44. We have to go all the way to 3 hits. By the time we've hit 3 times, now we're going to pull some bets down, so we'll actually be in a winning position of about $15. So we got to have 3 hits before we start making money. So now can you see how that plays in here? If we have to hit 3 times to make money, and our average session, our average hand, is only hitting 2.56 times, well, then you can see here, on average, you're going to lose. So if you can get above that 2.5, yes, you'll start making some money. And you can see, yeah, there's some that get way up there. As a matter of fact, if we go back and look at the amounts won and lost, we can see that there was one game here that won $4,464. Well, that's pretty good. It might make you want to run out and play this strategy. But think about it. Let's look at this in isolation. If I click here, left click, that kind of isolates that little bar. I can do the same thing by holding down the shift key and moving over that first bar. You can see that $4,464, that was one session, 0.01% of the total. So out of 10,000 sessions, one time you won $4,000. So you might ask yourself, well, is it worth losing well, you're not going to lose 9,999 times, but you get the idea. Is it worth that one giant win to get all these losing sessions over here? It might not be. You'll have to be the judge of that. Anyway, hope you can see the value in that. How maybe you can use some of those check stacks to get additional data, readjust when you reset your sessions, what they mean. A session can be when your bankroll goes to a certain point. It could be an amount of time. It could be an amount of rolls. It could be a hand, as I demonstrated here. Maybe you want to do a point cycle. In other words, every time a shooter starts with a new shooter, and the shooter either makes or rolls a point, either makes a point or sevens out, you could say, well, that constitutes a point cycle. So you can reset according to that and get different information. Another little thing here that's sometimes interesting to look at, if I'm looking here at amounts won and lost, and you can see that the amounts lost here were so great that it just make everything else look minuscule. We have up here a line that says broke even. What is this doing is it's taking all our sessions and it's dividing them up into winning games, break-even games, and losing games. But we can change this breakpoint here to something else. Now we had originally, tell you what, let's go back to that other data first. The first one I showed you. Okay. On this one here, we said we had a win goal of $200. Well, how about if we change our breakpoint here? Instead of break even, let's say $200. So I'm going to come in here, options, set breakpoint. I'm going to set 200. Now, if I don't set 200 in both of these, then it's going to think I want a range of 200 to 0. So I'll put 200 in both of them. That's going to be my breakpoint. Now you can see up here is changed. So now we're going to be looking at data that's above 200, at 200, and below 200. So where all the games, actually I set the win goal to greater than or equal to 200. So if I were to add these up, I deselect the losing games, and now I can see that anytime I won 200 or more, I want to include that in the data. Now I can see what that is. So of all the sessions where I won, my average win was $243. If I want to look at just the losses, I could do the opposite. Deselect the wins, just look at the losses, and I can say, of the times that I lost, my average loss was minus $482. So just another way to use the graph here for some information. Well, I hope you found that useful. Good luck in your scripting, and thanks for watching.